System, I'm giving up the conquest. Start the erasure. Sylvia Blackwood's eyes were vacant as she calmly awaited her own demise. The phone on the table lit up, displaying a photo of Lucas Thorne with his arm around another woman. No matter how many times she reset, even when his affection level reached 99, Lucas Thorne would still fall irrevocably in love with Luna Miller in his 25th year. It was all so pointless. The system's mechanical, electronic voice broke the silence. Host has failed the conquest a cumulative 99 times. You may apply to change the conquest target. Please confirm if you wish to change. Sylvia, already worn down to a state of utter despair, felt a flicker of light in her lifeless eyes. Confirm? Who would willingly give up on life if not for the absolute hopelessness of the path ahead? For 99 conquests, she had been trapped as if under an invisible dome, forced to watch herself walk toward a predetermined, inescapable end. Now she had finally cracked it open. Even if it meant being drenched in her own blood, she would do anything to escape this endless, agonizing cycle. Change successful. New conquest target is the head of the Lancaster family, Ethan Lancaster. Sylvia's eyes shifted slightly. Ethan Lancaster, head of the main branch of the powerful Lancaster family. Though frail and sickly, having spent years recuperating abroad, he still maintained an iron grip on the Lancaster Corporation, a testament to his formidable methods. Over the years, she had designed multiple best-selling jewelry lines for Northstream Corporation, catapulting its CEO, Lucas Thorne, to fame as a business prodigy. Everyone said Ethan Lancaster was destined for an early grave and that a successor would be chosen from a side branch. Lucas was the most suitable candidate, but what if Ethan could live? A successful conquest would grant her the Restore Health item. She had originally planned to use it to cure Lucas's leg injury. To facilitate access to the conquest target, the host's identity will be changed. In 15 days, the host will die of weakness from an unknown illness. Sylvia wasn't surprised by her manner of death. Every time a mission failed, she would powerlessly feel her life slip away just like this. The difference was, this time, the end of her life meant a true rebirth. A long-lost smile appeared on Sylvia's face. Goodbye forever, Lucas Thorne. In half a month, this identity would cease to exist. She could use this time to arrange her affairs. Lucas was the book's dark, world-weary antagonist. To justify her presence by his side, the system had made her his deskmate and given her the same orphaned background. It was a perfect fit, as she had been an orphan before transmigrating and didn't know how to interact with parents anyway. 3 years ago, her grandmother in this world had passed away, and since then, her life had revolved entirely around Lucas. Alone in the world, Sylvia Blackwood could face death without any ties. But before that, she needed to properly hand over her work at the corporation. Not for Lucas, but simply to avoid troubling her colleagues. Before submitting her resignation, Sylvia made herself a pot of spicy crayfish. Lucas had a weak stomach, so she, a lover of all things spicy, had followed his bland diet, never letting him catch even a whiff of a pungent aroma. She put a saucy piece of crayfish into her mouth. The familiar yet distant taste felt like it was from 1,000,000 years ago. A scorching flame shot down her throat, and she couldn't tell if it was spice or pain. Tears fell silently. 99 lifetimes. People aren't made of stone. How could one not feel anything? If she hadn't truly fallen for him, why would she have so stubbornly tried to conquer him time and time again? Yet in every lifetime, she and Lucas never made it to the end. She was done loving Lucas Thorne. Ding, the phone screen lit up again. Through a haze of tears, Lucas's profile picture came into view. Come to the Cloudstream Club, room 607. They hadn't seen each other in days. With a 99 affection level, he should have been willing to give his life for her, yet he had abandoned her without a second thought, rushing resolutely to Luna Miller's side. He knew she was terrified of being alone. A tear splattered onto the screen as Sylvia hit send. Okay, it was time for a proper goodbye. A thank you for the 1% of affection he withheld, and for the blatant favoritism he had shown her before he turned 25. Even if he now loved another person with far greater passion. Lucas, aren't you afraid Sylvia will find out about this? As she reached the door of the private room, the voice of his friend, Leo Albright, drifted out. Sylvia stopped. Through the slightly ajar door, she saw Lucas, his hand resting brazenly on Luna Miller's shoulder amidst a cloud of smoke, a lazy smile on his face. Afraid of what? Luna's my fiancé. Fiancé? Then what does that make Sylvia? In a daze, Sylvia's eyes met his long, cold ones. Just like he had at 18, he curled his lip into a roguish, wicked smile. My lover. Sylvia still remembered when they were 18. Lucas had stood clumsily beneath her window, drawing a heart in the air with a handheld firework. Sylvie, happy Valentine's Day, the sparkler burned brightly, like a cascade of tiny stars, making his obsidian eyes shine brilliantly in the hazy night. Lucas Thorne will love Sylvia Blackwood for a lifetime, no, for all of eternity, perhaps. At that moment, Lucas truly had wished for them to be together for all eternity. It was that fiery, pure love of his youth that had made her throw herself into this, time and time again. It was just a shame that a true heart could change in an instant. Sylvia pulled herself back from the tangled memories, feeling an unexpected sense of release. 99 lifetimes. In the end, she still couldn't have him for one. It was time for this to end. Before she could push the door open, his deep, clear voice called out, "Sylvie, since you're here, come on in." Sylvia's hand froze, so he really had seen her. Those words, my lover, were said deliberately for her to hear. At 18, he wished her a happy Valentine's Day. At 25, he wanted to make her his lover. How could the man who used to cry in panic if she so much as got a paper cut bring himself to humiliate her like this? Her heart, already riddled with 1,000 holes, was stabbed again without mercy, yet Sylvia felt no pain. The dense agony that had tormented her for countless days and nights vanished completely. The Lucas Thorne who loved her was dead. He had died before his 25th birthday. Pushing the door open, Sylvia's face was devoid of emotion, as if the man sitting in the main seat, his hand wrapped around Luna Miller's waist, wasn't her lover at all. Lucas showed no guilt or anger. His hand on Luna grew bolder while his dark eyes stared straight at her. His friend Leo Albright said awkwardly, "Sylvie, have a seat." In the past, Sylvia would have burst into tears, begging Lucas not to love someone else, pleading with Luna to give him back. But thankfully, the cycle was broken. There would be no more resets. He could spend the rest of his life with Luna Miller. She no longer had to be tied to him, no longer had to feel joy because he was happy or sorrow because he was sad. Letting him go was also letting herself go. At this thought, a smile touched the corners of Sylvia's eyes, and she walked with a surprisingly light step to a seat far away from the couple. "You're happy?" Lucas's voice was thick and indistinct. For a fleeting moment, Sylvia had the illusion that he wanted to see her jealous and lose her composure. How absurd. Lucas Thorne, with a 99 affection level, would try to prove her love for him by hurting her. The only explanation was that his affection level for Luna was 100. Just 1 point short, and she could never compare. It was just that irrational. This was good, though. It meant she could leave in 15 days without any attachments. He had betrayed her first. So she was done with him too. Sylvia. Lucas's voice turned chillingly cold. He only ever called her Sylvia when he was displeased. She looked at him, slightly puzzled. What was he so angry about? She had been wronged for 99 lifetimes and hadn't even gotten angry. Lucas's grip tightened, nearly crushing the bones in the woman's shoulder in his arms. In the next moment, his words made Luna forget the pain, her face breaking into a wide, joyous smile. "Sylvia Blackwood, Luna and I are getting married next month." Leo Albright was stunned. "Are you insane?" Sylvia remained unfazed. "Congratulations." Leo looked from Lucas to Sylvia and back again. "You too. Are you just breaking up just like that?" A dangerous aura, impossible to shake, gathered around Lucas. After shooting Leo a sinister glare, he spoke coldly, "We're not breaking up." The smile on Luna's face froze, and her eyes, filled with venomous resentment, stared at Sylvia. Sylvia, however, wasn't surprised by Lucas's attitude. His sky-high affection level made it impossible for him to let her go easily. But what was the point? His actions were trampling on the dignity of all three of them. Lucas Thorne, we're over. Let's just pretend we never met. Never met? Lucas's brow suddenly darkened with a sinister and fierce look. He sneered, "The whole world knows you're my woman, yes." He had never hidden his favoritism for her. Recalling those grand, passionate memories, Sylvia's face was serene. Not anymore. A flicker of panic crossed Lucas's deep-set eyes, but it was quickly masked by ferocity. "Starting tomorrow, you don't have to come to the office anymore. The position of chief jewelry designer goes to my fiancée, Luna Miller." "Lucas?" Leo Albright was dumbfounded. Sylvia's expression still showed no ripple of emotion. In every lifetime, she thought things would be different. This time, he still made the same choice. She was no longer surprised. North Stream Corporation was his life's work. If he didn't care, why should she, a person about to die, care? Sylvia nodded lightly. "Fine. Just make sure the severance pay is in order." Everything had gone his way, yet Lucas Thorne was as frenzied and enraged as a caged beast. Crash, he shattered the wine glass in his hand. Sharp shards of glass embedded themselves in his flesh. Bright, blinding, a crimson blood gushed out, pooling at his fingertips before dripping down, drip, drip. "Lucas, you're hurt." Luna Miller cried out in alarm, bustling about to get the first aid kit and treat his wound. His gaze, however, remained fixed on Sylvia. His morbid eyes held a mix of obsession, nostalgia, and a fleeting hint of grievance, the corners turning a faint red. Sylvia merely watched him with indifference. "Lucas Thorne, just pretend I never appeared in your world. Our meeting was a mistake from the very beginning." Lucas shot to his feet, his face a mask of intense panic and unease. But then, as if thinking of something, he sat back down. Luna nearly ground her teeth to dust. She said with tears in her eyes, "Lucas, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have been so greedy. I'm the one who made Sylvie unhappy. You should still marry her. As long as I can be by your side, I don't need a title." Leo Albright couldn't help but let out a low, cold sneer. A homewrecker through and through, Luna's tears fell even harder. "Lucas, all your friends and family only recognize Sylvie. I know I can't compare to her. Sylvie is a top student from a university, while I just have a degree from a private college. I'm not good enough for you, Lucas." Sylvia said wearily. "Miss Miller, Lucas and I are over. From now on, I won't be an obstacle for you. If I'm lying, may I die a horrible death." Thud a cane made of fine, dark wood slammed heavily on the floor. Lucas's handsome face was grim as he spoke coldly. "In that case, to keep Luna from overthinking, how about I erase your academic records from a university?" "Lucas," Leo was aghast. Luna was both shocked and flattered. "Lucas, isn't that a bit much? Sylvie will be heartbroken. She'll only have a high school diploma after this." "Then erase it," Sylvia said lightly. "And while you're at it, erase my high school records too. I remember there are posts on the campus forums shipping us as a couple. Delete all of them." Her serious tone infuriated Lucas. "You just don't care, do you? You want to erase our entire past together. Fine, you think I don't have the guts?" Lucas immediately called Assistant Daniels. "Lucas, don't be impulsive," Leo quickly tried to stop him. Sylvia didn't move a muscle. "CEO Thorne," the call connected. Lucas stared deeply at her, enunciating each word. "Assistant Daniels, terminate Sylvia Blackwood's position as chief jewelry designer. Also, erase all of her high school and university academic records." "What? CEO Thorne, is that you?" "Just do as I say," a bewildered Assistant Daniels reminded him. "CEO Thorne, once the records are erased, they can't be restored." Sylvia held no expectations. She was like a bystander, even finding the presence of mind to lift the glass of orange juice before her and take a sip. "Do it," Lucas barked. Sylvia's numb heart couldn't help but ache with a sourness that bordered on hatred. This was the man who, when he loved her, would have given her the world. Now, with a few cruel words, he was destroying everything she had. What if she hadn't been able to switch to a new identity? For the rest of her life, she would have been trampled into the mud by him, with no hope of ever getting back up. Leo Albright had been Lucas's best friend since high school. He used to call Sylvia sister-in-law and had witnessed their entire relationship. He, too, was stunned by Lucas's heartless turnaround. "Lucas Thorne, you've gone too far." Only Luna couldn't hide the delight on her face, looking deeply moved. "Lucas, I'll never let my imagination run wild again. I know how much you love me." Luna snuggled into Lucas's arms and shot a triumphant glance at Sylvia. Sylvia sighed softly. She didn't have much time left. She shouldn't waste any more of it on someone so unworthy. Following her own heart, she got up and left the club, heading home. The illness inflicted by the system began to take effect. Sylvia grew drowsy and easily fatigued. Just tidying up a few things left her drained. She decided to just pull the covers over her head and sleep. She'd been fired anyway. She might as well consider it a long vacation. That night, half asleep, Sylvia felt a presence behind her. The cool, cedar-like scent temporarily dispelled her drowsiness. She tried to push him away. His iron grip clamped down on her, making it impossible to break free. "Lucas Thorne, we broke up." His body trembled as he buried his head in the crook of her neck, his breathing ragged. Hot, moist air sprayed against her skin. "Sylvie, we didn't break up." Sylvia truly didn't understand him. How could he love two people with the same heart? And how, after humiliating her so thoroughly, could he expect her to act as if nothing had happened? It had taken her 99 lifetimes to understand that a broken mirror could never be mended. She had desperately searched for the Lucas Thorne who had loved her so deeply, but he had died in the very first lifetime, at the very moment he betrayed her. There was no going back for them. Enjoying a rare day off, Sylvia prepared herself an exquisite breakfast. She savored it slowly. Tap, tap. The sound of a cane tapping lightly on the floor announced his arrival. Lucas Thorne, with his bad leg and obsession with appearances, walked over slowly, his limp almost imperceptible if you weren't looking closely. His face was grim, and he was wearing a wrinkled, high-end custom suit. "Why didn't you iron my clothes and my breakfast?" For countless days and nights in the past, Sylvia had not only designed jewelry for his Nord Stream Corporation, but also meticulously managed every detail of his daily life. She cooked him stomach-soothing meals 3 times a day, with a varied menu, never missing a single day. He had come to take it all for granted. Sylvia laughed. "Lucas Thorne, your affairs have nothing to do with me anymore. Have you forgot? Luna Miller is your fiancée." A strange emotion flickered in Lucas's dark eyes. "Are you jealous?" Sylvia was no longer moved by his moods, nor did she want to guess his thoughts. "You only get jealous when you care." "Lucas Thorne, why would I be jealous of you?" Lucas stared at her in disbelief, his eyes a swirling vortex of gloom and madness. "Don't care? Sylvia Blackwood, you loved me for 7 years." He swung his cane, sweeping a vase off the table. It shattered, leaving a mess on the floor. Sylvia's gaze fell lightly on the ceramic vase they had made together. "Loving someone once doesn't mean you'll love them forever. You, of all people, should understand that." But Lucas seemed to let out a breath of relief. "So you are jealous of Luna? You think that just because I'm with her, I don't love you anymore?" His dark eyes stared deeply into hers. "Sylvie, don't you know how much I love you?" Of course, she knew. A 99 affection level didn't lie. But what did love matter? He still loved Luna Miller the most. No, he loved himself the most. Every time before, Sylvia had foolishly believed he would choose her, only to be slapped in the face by reality. The sensitive and paranoid Lucas, now convinced she was jealous, had a hint of pleasure in his voice. "Sylvie, come back to work at North Stream. I'll give you a designer position." He was always like this, a stick and a carrot. He would beat her down, then offer a sliver of sweet hope, just enough to keep her from letting go. Thinking of the design she was about to finish, Sylvia took a step back. "I'll leave after I've completed the handover." Perhaps news of Lucas wanting her back at North Stream had leaked and reached Luna Miller's ears. She showed up at the door, furious. Gone was the weak, submissive woman she pretended to be in front of Lucas. She glared at Sylvia, her chin held high in arrogance. "Sylvia Blackwood, do you still think you're the campus belle of A university? No one would dare to even acknowledge you." Sylvia had been busy finishing her design drafts these past 2 days, wanting to put a proper end to this identity's design career. She ignored Luna's taunts. Luna's eyes were venomous as she chattered on. "So what if Lucas was head over heels for you before? The one he loves now is me." Sylvia's hand paused. Luna smirked. "You're such a failure, Sylvia Blackwood." Sylvia sighed. "Miss Miller, please don't disturb my work, okay?" Ding, the kettle whistled, signaling the water had boiled. Sylvia got up to pour the water into a thermos. Luna followed her, her face contorted with rage. Work, work, she was the chief jewelry designer. Now Sylvia was just a pitiful wretch, without even a high school diploma. Yet those damn employees still recognized her. Even Lucas wanted Sylvia to come back today. It was work. What about tomorrow? Was she going to try and steal the position of Mrs. Thorne too? Staring at the still steaming kettle, rage completely overwhelmed reason. A demonic malice sprouted in Luna's heart. Her eyes bloodshot, she reached out a claw-like hand and pressed down on Sylvia's right hand. "Sylvia Blackwood, don't even think about competing with me, SSSS." The scalding water poured all over the once deft, slender hand. The fair skin visibly reddened, blistered, and began to fester. Luna savored the look of shock and despair on Sylvia's face. Finally, the foul air in her chest was released. Crash in the struggle, the kettle fell to the floor, shattering into pieces. A few drops of hot water splashed onto Luna's calf. "Ah, you bitch." Sylvia ran her right hand under cold water. The intense pain caused beads of sweat to form on her forehead, mixing with the tears that streamed down her face. She was going to die in 10 days. Why couldn't they just leave her alone? "What's going on?" Lucas entered, leaning on his cane. Luna's expression changed in an instant. She threw herself into his arms, sobbing and pointing at the few red spots on her calf. "Lucas, Sylvie knocked over the kettle and burned me. It hurts so much." Lucas was furious. "Sylvia Blackwood, you've gone too far. Luna is innocent. How could you attack her just because you're jealous?" "You've disappointed me so much," he supported Luna, who was so weak she could barely stand, his face ashen. "It was my decision to marry Luna. If you have a problem, take it up with me." The man who had once promised to protect her for all eternity now held another woman, disappearing from her sight without a single look back. Sylvia numbly felt the cold water rushing over her hand. All he needed was one glance to see how badly she was burned. Just one glance. After running cold water over it for half an hour, Sylvia took a taxi to the hospital alone. A young nurse helped treat her injury. "I'm so sorry. Mr. Thorne's fiancé was also burned, and all the burn specialists have been called to treat her." Sylvia gave a self-deprecating smile. Mr. Thorne really loves her. Just a few drops of hot water, and Lucas had caused such a commotion. Her hand throbbed with a fiery pain, and her heart felt like it was being repeatedly seared. A 99 affection level had made her think that he cared about her, at least a little. She had been too presumptuous. "Mrs. Thornby only has a minor burn, but that wife-doting maniac, Mr. Thorne, is acting like a psycho." "A psychotic CEO in real life, huh?" People were talking as they walked past the door. "I heard a patient complained about him calling away all the burn specialists, so Mr. Thorne just booked the entire floor so no one would disturb his fiancée. This burn on your hand is very severe. You'll definitely need a skin graft in the future." The young nurse held her twisted, deformed hand, carefully applying ointment. Sylvia asked, "Will I be able to draw again?" "You're an artist?" The nurse shook her head with deep regret. "With this hand, forget about drawing. You won't even be able to straighten it." After saying this, the nurse looked at her apologetically. "I'm so sorry. Actually, it's okay." Sylvia shook her head, comforting her. "I won't be needing this hand for much longer anyway." "Huh." The nurse's eyes widened slightly. She looked at the patient, noticing Sylvia's unusually haggard face, and assumed she must have some terminal illness to say she won't be needing this hand. The nurse's heart ached for her, but she didn't dare ask why no family members were with her. She couldn't help but think of the Mrs. Thorne to be upstairs and sighed with a mix of emotions. If the patient in front of her were the one who was going to be Mrs. Thorne, how frantic would Mr. Thorne be right now? When Sylvia returned home after getting her hand bandaged, Lucas was still upstairs with his new love. Her right hand hurt so much it had almost gone numb. She quietly used her good left hand to pull out the design drafts she would never be able to finish. Her fingertips gently traced the wedding rings on the paper. This was originally the wedding ring she had designed for herself. Like her 99 lifetimes with him, it was so close to being perfect, but it was destined to never be. After 2 days of recovering at home, Lucas returned, leaning on his cane, his face cold and questioning. "You're refusing to design, Eternal Heart? You deliberately burned Luna. These wedding rings are compensation for her. She already agreed not to press charges, so what more are you unhappy about? Why are you bringing your personal emotions into your work?" A sense of fatalistic helplessness washed over Sylvia. She lifted her right hand, wrapped in sterile gauze, where the charred skin was still vaguely visible. "I was burned." Sylvia's tone was terrifyingly calm. "It was your precious Luna who held my right hand down and poured an entire kettle of boiling water on it." "Impossible," Lucas's pupils constricted. "Luna would never do something like that. You deliberately burned yourself to avoid me holding you responsible, didn't you?" The doctor said I'll never be able to draw again. Lucas nearly lost his grip on his cane. Drawing was her dream, she would never completely destroy it. He desperately tried to recall the scene from that day. The image, which he had ignored out of disappointment and anger, now appeared clearly in his mind. He saw her hand, an unnatural red, being rinsed under the faucet. Her face was covered in tears. This shocking scene made Lucas slump onto the sofa, unable to comprehend why Luna would so brazenly destroy her hand. He knew Luna was scheming, that's why he was using her. But how did she dare to act so righteously and turn the tables after committing such a crime? It was as if Lucas was seeing Luna Miller for the first time. Was it because, in a fit of rage, he had erased Sylvia's academic records this time, making Luna think he was so besotted with her that he'd lost his mind and she could do whatever she wanted? Sylvia looked at his devastated expression and couldn't help but feel curious. "Lucas Thorne, are you still going to marry Luna Miller?" Lucas gritted his teeth, his voice firm and decisive. "Yes, so devoted." Sylvia lowered her eyes, staring blankly at her heavily bandaged hand, feeling the pain that shot deep into her bones with the slightest movement. She no longer wanted to ask him why he loved Luna Miller so deeply. In 8 more days, she would be free. The sunset cast a soft golden glow on her, making her slender figure seem so ethereal it might vanish in the next second. An unprecedented panic rose in Lucas's heart. The words tumbled out of his mouth. "Sylvie, don't be afraid. We'll reset soon." Boom, that simple sentence struck Sylvia like a bolt of lightning, leaving her mind completely blank. Reset? The blood in Sylvia's body froze, her heartbeat almost stopped. So, he knew all along that if the conquest failed, it would reset. He had deliberately made her mission fail, time and time again. All the little signs that had been there all along suddenly connected, like countless threads being pulled at once, cruelly revealing a bloody truth. Sylvia was laughing and crying at the same time. Affection level 99? More like hatred level 99. What kind of grudge, what kind of resentment, would make him willingly go back in time over and over, just to watch her grovel before him like a clown? Lucas panicked. "Sylvie, don't scare me." The tragic smile on Sylvia's face vanished. Tears still clung to her lashes, but the last spark of light in her eyes died out, replaced by a dead silence. Her gaze held no warmth at all. "Lucas Thorne, I should never have met you." After that day, Sylvia became like a walking corpse, sitting by the window without saying a single word. She replayed the memories of her 99 lifetimes over and over. Suddenly, many things became clear. Lucas had lost his parents at a young age, and his family fortune was seized by his uncle. He was treated like a dog, bullied by his cousins, pushed into the sea, and abandoned in the mountains. His crippled leg had been broken by his cousin. She had understood his sensitivity and insecurity, trying to soothe his anxieties with all the love she had. But it was never enough for him. He had masterfully controlled the affection level, choosing to betray her just as it was about to be maxed out. He wanted to test her love for him over and over using Luna, reveling in her repeated breakdowns and loss of composure for his sake. Undeniably, he loved her, but his love was twisted and deformed. What kind of love allowed him to cheat so wantonly, to watch her die in despair and collapse, time and time again, without a flicker of emotion? "Sylvie, your hand will get better." Lucas still thought she had shut down because she could no longer draw. He set aside his cane and knelt before her on one knee, his hand trembling as he gently touched her atrophied, deformed one. "Don't ignore me." His eyes were red, his voice low and hoarse, filled with a helpless plea. "You know I'll die without you." Sylvia refused to look at this strange man again. She clutched the last photograph of herself and her grandmother. She gently traced her grandmother's kind and loving features, letting time slip by. Her grandmother was the only warmth she had in this world. Ding, the phone rang. "Lucas, the spot where I was burned hurt so much." Luna's voice was delicate and pitiful. "Can you come and stay with me?" For the first time in 99 lifetimes, Lucas snapped at her. "Is your injury as bad as Sylvie's?" "Stop pretending." Sylvia's heart, as still as an ancient well, felt not a single ripple. She only felt that the remaining 5 days were terrifyingly long. She didn't want to stay by his side for another second. The unknown illness grew worse. Sylvia would fall asleep sitting up, wake up, and sit some more. Lucas watched her from a distance, anxious and restless, sitting with her in silence day after day. Luna, who hadn't seen him for days, grew increasingly insecure. After Lucas openly skipped work yet again, she threw caution to the wind and chased after him. When Luna arrived, Lucas had just stepped out to buy the savory pancake from a shop near their old high school, which had once been Sylvia's favorite. Luna shrieked, "Sylvia Blackwood, do you know that Lucas and I are about to get married? Why are you trying to ruin our relationship?" Sylvia ignored Luna, her gaze lost in her grandmother's photo as she silently counted down the time. "Goodbye, Grandma. Sylvie won't be coming back to you." "Sylvia Blackwood, stop playing deaf and dumb." Crash, Luna suddenly snatched the photo frame from her arms and slammed it onto the ground. The wooden frame cracked, and the glass shattered into countless pieces, scratching the photograph. Sylvia's eyes, now tinged with a crimson hue, glared at her. Luna Miller from somewhere, Sylvia, who had been on the verge of collapse, found a burst of strength. She stood up and swung with all her might, slapping Luna so hard that she fell to the ground, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. The next moment, the door opened. "Lucas!" Luna, looking as if she had suffered a great injustice, burst into tears and stumbled towards him. She accused, "I just accidentally dropped Sylvie's photo and she hit me." The impatience in Lucas's eyes froze. He tore his gaze away from the shattered photo and stared deeply at Luna's swollen face. Sylvie misses her grandma. As soon as she sees her grandma again, she'll be back to normal. "Luna, let's move the wedding date up." Luna was overjoyed. Of course, Sylvia paid them no mind, crouching down to pick up the broken frame, letting the glass shards slice into her hands, drawing blood. Sylvie, seeing the blood, Lucas panicked, dropped his cane and limped toward her. Watching this scene, Luna, with blood still at the corner of her mouth, saw her smile vanish, replaced by a look of such deep, venomous hatred it was almost tangible. Sylvia Blackwood must die that night. Luna was admitted to the hospital. She clumsily faked a medical record stating she needed an emergency kidney transplant. And Sylvia just happened to have signed an organ donation agreement, and her kidney was a match. "Lucas, I don't want Sylvie's kidney. Just let me die." Luna lay on the hospital bed, looking fragile and pitiful, tears falling like streams of light. "It's such a shame. I was so close to marrying you. Lucas, let's be husband and wife in the next life." A morbid madness was suppressed in Lucas's dark, gloomy eyes. Luna wanted Sylvia to die on the operating table. And if Sylvia died, time would turn back. He couldn't wait to return to the past, to that dark, damp, decaying past, where in the endless abyss, he would meet the warmest light. Sylvia lay on the operating table. Lucas caressed her pale face, his fingers trembling with excitement. "Sylvie, we'll see each other again very soon." Sylvia slowly closed her eyes, letting a tear slip from the corner. "There is no soon, Lucas. The last 3 days were gone, too. System detects a threat to the host's life, proceeding with an early identity change for the host." The first time his affection level reached 99, Lucas Thorne had awakened. He learned that he was the book's heinous arch-villain, destined to be thrown in prison by the original protagonist on his 26th birthday, and sentenced to life, the story's original ending. Sylvia Blackwood's appearance had changed the course of the plot. She was a conqueror, and she was his salvation. In that lifetime, he had accidentally discovered a system bug. If he married Luna Miller, Sylvia would slowly die, and time would reverse. It wasn't that Lucas hadn't considered keeping the affection level at 99. But the world's consciousness had told him that if the level didn't reach 100 before the finale, Sylvia would be erased by the system. He didn't dare to gamble. He didn't dare to bet that she would choose to stay after a successful conquest. He was terrified of being thrown back into that dark abyss. Besides, his relationship with Luna was just an act. So he simply married her, forcing time to restart. In this lifetime, due to the unexpected variables of her erased academic records and her burned hand, Sylvia had become like a soulless, broken doll. Lucas panicked. He needed to go back to the past, and he needed to do it now. The operating room doors slammed shut. Lucas sat on a bench in the hallway, waiting for the system to once again stuff his old, filthy soul back into his 15-year-old body. He muttered to himself, his hoarse voice filled with suppressed madness and anticipation. "Sylvie, wait for me." This surgery was meant to be a formality. With Luna's bribes and Lucas's tacit approval, Dr. Hobbs picked up his scalpel. He silently watched as the line on the heart monitor went flat. Once rigor mortis had set in, Dr. Hobbs confidently walked out of the operating room. CEO Thorne, there was an incident during the surgery. I know. Lucas, who had yet to be transported back in time, sounded irritated. Ever since the scalding incident, he knew Luna was more vicious than he had imagined. However, this time he had overestimated her nerve. He thought Luna would take the opportunity to end Sylvia's life, but he hadn't expected her to only take one kidney. He wanted Sylvia to die, but not to torture her. Lucas couldn't even imagine how Sylvia must feel after suffering such an unjust disaster. Rage and heartache nearly shredded Lucas's nerves. Luna Miller fine, just fine thinking of how Sylvia would have to watch him marry such a venomous woman. Lucas's face twisted in agony. How is Sylvie? For a moment, Dr. Hobbs thought he had misheard the name. He had forcibly tied someone up and sent them to the operating table to donate a kidney to his fiancée. He assumed Sylvia was nothing more than an organ vessel to Lucas. Why was he acting so concerned about his ex-girlfriend? He even used her nickname so intimately, Doctor. Hobbs instinctively avoided his gaze. Miss Miller's surgery was very successful. I asked you about Sylvie. Dr. Hobbs jumped in fright. Miss Blackwood passed away from excessive blood loss. What? Lucas's expression shifted from disbelief to a kind of indescribable, horrifying terror. The sharp words passed away, pierced through him, and an icy wind howled mercilessly inside. She was dead. She had left him all alone. Impossible, I'm still here, so Sylvie can't be dead. The operating room doors opened again, and a gurney was wheeled out. A white sheet, stained with blood, was draped over a rigid body. Beneath it, thick, crimson blood snaked out like a viper's tongue, devouring all other colors in the world. Lucas collapsed to the floor. He saw the red string bracelet on her wrist, one her grandmother had woven by hand. It felt as if something was crushing his throat, almost snapping his neck, before brutally tearing open his chest, letting out a beast-like, mournful wail. Sylvie, Dr. Hobbs trembled. CEO Thorne, my condolences. No, she's not dead, not dead. Lucas tried to stand up several times, only to fall again and again, his face bruised and swollen, a pathetic mess. Finally, he crawled and scrambled to his knees before the gurney. Trembling hands lifted the white sheet, now nearly dyed red. It was a face, bluish black and purple, lifeless and still. This was his Sylvie, the girl who was once so bright and vibrant, now robbed of all life, turned into a cold, battered corpse. He was the murderer, see. Sylvie. Lucas's heart was squeezed tight and tears fell uncontrollably onto her face. He reached out, trying to feel for her breath. He couldn't feel anything. Lucas had never faced Sylvia's death so directly. Usually, not long after she stopped breathing, he would return to the year they first met. He had pushed her to her death with his own hands, creating this final separation between life and death. He had killed his own light, his own salvation. How could this be? He loved her so much. Lucas was like a gambler at the end of his rope, his eyes bloodshot, veins bulging, frantically tearing at his own hair. Why am I still here? Why did it fail this time? Why, with Sylvia Blackwood's death, the story was supposed to return to its starting point? For the past 99 lifetimes, this was how Lucas Thorne had restarted time. He never believed that death could truly touch her. But this time, Lucas had lost his beloved forever. Sylvie, Sylvie, don't leave me all alone. Sylvie. Lucas collapsed onto Sylvia's body, burying his head in the crook of her neck, the overwhelming scent of blood and the stiff, cold touch a heart-wrenching agony. He wept uncontrollably, tears and snot smearing his face. Sylvie, you haven't succeeded in your conquest yet. How can you be dead? Sylvie, what am I supposed to do now that you're gone? Dr. Hobbs stared blankly at the delirious Lucas, his heart sinking rapidly. He never should have done something so immoral just to curry favor with the future mistress of North Stream Corporation. CEO Thorne, the dead can't be brought back. Should we send Miss Blackwood's body to the morgue first? Let's not disturb her final peace. Why did she die? It was just a kidney donation. Lucas whipped his head up to glare at Dr. Hobbs, a murderous aura practically materializing around him. His eyes, almost weeping blood, were terrifying. How dare you? Dr. Hobbs was terrified but forced himself to whisper a reminder. CEO Thorne, all surgeries have risks. You signed the consent form yourself. You killed her. Lucas dragged his crippled leg, advancing on Dr. Hobbs like a vengeful specter. If his light was gone, what was the point of this world? He would kill everyone who had ever hurt her and make them pay. Lucas's eyes were bloodshot, like a beast that had lost all reason. You killed my Sylvie, and now I'm going to kill you. Dr. Hobbs was on the verge of tears. See CEO Thorne. It was obvious this whole thing was a setup to let Sylvia die, legitimately. Lucas had orchestrated the whole thing, and now he was turning on them. Wasn't he the one who had grown tired of Sylvia and was torturing her to please his new love? Could it be that he only realized he loved her after she was dead? Did it have to be this cliché? It was insane, filled with pain and despair. Lucas walked like a demon from hell toward Dr. Hobbs, raising his hand to choke the life out of this executioner. Go down and atone for what you've done to her. No, it's not Luke. Just then, Luna, having applied a pitifully pale, sick makeup, was wheeled out from her operating room, lying weakly on a gurney. She pretended to have just woken from anesthesia and called out weakly, "Lucas!" Lucas turned his murderous gaze to the woman on the gurney, her acting utterly contrived. Luna, blinded by victory and joy, didn't notice his strange behavior. She pretended to accidentally see Sylvia's body and covered her mouth in feigned shock and guilt. "Sylvie, it's all because of me, to save me." Luna weakly clutched the fake wound on her waist and bravely wiped away a tear. "Sylvie, I'll take your place and take good care of Lucas for you. You can rest in peace." Rage burned through Lucas's dark, decaying soul. Just as he was about to strangle this venomous woman, a thought flashed through his mind. Every time before, Sylvia had died after he married Luna. It must be because he wasn't married yet. A bizarre, chilling smile spread across Lucas's face. "Sylvie, wait for me." Luna secretly watched Lucas's reaction, a chill running down her spine. Lucas snapped back to reality, his voice unnaturally excited. "We'll have the wedding tomorrow." Luna was ecstatic. She didn't care if the wedding was rushed. She couldn't wait to become the mistress of North Stream Corporation. Okay, time was tight, and many things couldn't be prepared, making the wedding of the city's newly minted tycoon seem remarkably simple and perfunctory. Luna, wearing a hastily bought wedding dress, beamed with a radiant, triumphant smile. Luna's parents, who never imagined their daughter would actually marry into the Thorne family, didn't fuss over Lucas's dismissive attitude. He hadn't even bothered with a formal proposal visit. They basked in the congratulations of the crowd. The guests offered warm congratulations to their faces, but couldn't help whispering amongst themselves behind their backs. "Isn't this wedding a bit too rushed? Who knows? This Luna Miller has Mr. Thorne completely bewitched. He must be desperate to marry her. I heard she got a few small blisters from a burn a while back, and he booked the entire burn unit of a hospital for her. He's completely lost his mind over a woman." Some guests had heard about the love triangle. "I heard this Luna Miller is the other woman who schemed her way to the top." That's right. Mr. Thorne had a girlfriend of 7 years, Miss Blackwood, the former chief designer at North Stream. After he fell for someone else, he fired Miss Blackwood and even had her high school and university records erased. What? Mr. Thorne is that kind of person. After being blacklisted by him, Miss Blackwood won't even be able to find a decent job. He probably thought that by doing that, no one would know Luna was a homewrecker. Tesk. The guests were all disgusted by Lucas's heartlessness. When Miss Blackwood was with Mr. Thorne, the Lancaster fortune was still controlled by his uncle. I heard that when he was kidnapped, Miss Blackwood nearly died trying to save him. Is Mr. Thorne cursed or something? Why would he abandon Miss Blackwood for Luna Miller? What does Luna Miller have that Miss Blackwood doesn't? The novelty, I guess. A man like that, who would dare to get close to him? Of course, given the power of North Stream Corporation and the Lancaster family behind Lucas, no guest dared to show their displeasure openly. After all, Lucas Thorne was the most promising heir from the side branch to inherit the Lancaster Corporation. I heard the head of the Lancaster family, Ethan Lancaster, doesn't have much time left. The Lancaster fortune will be Mr. Thorne's sooner or later. For a homewrecker like Luna Miller to become the matriarch of the Lancaster Corporation, it's truly unfair. I just feel sorry for Miss Blackwood, who was with him from the start. Sigh. Lucas could guess the guests' private disdain, but he didn't care. If it weren't for this last sliver of hope, he would have already gone mad. All he wanted now was to get married as quickly as possible and go back to the past. Just as he was about to go on stage for the ceremony, Leo Albright, having learned of the tragedy at the hospital, rushed to the wedding and punched Lucas square in the face. "Lucas Thorne, are you even human?" Leo accused him in front of everyone. "You forced Sylvie to donate her kidney to your new love, letting her die on the operating table. She's been dead for less than a day. Her body isn't even cold, you didn't even arrange her funeral, and you're already rushing to marry Luna Miller. What did Sylvie ever do to wrong you? Why do you have to trample on her like this?" The guests gasped in unison, a wave of shock rippling through the crowd. "Miss Blackwood is dead, and she died donating a kidney to the homewrecker, Luna Miller. Oh my God, that's a human life. Just because you don't love her anymore doesn't mean you have to kill her, right? Wow, look at Luna Miller. Does she look like someone with a kidney problem?" Lucas mechanically wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and urged the officiant to continue with the ceremony. Leo was utterly disappointed. "Lucas Thorne, how could you become so cold-blooded? For this homewrecker, you've abandoned all sense of morality and conscience." Luna bit her lip. "Mr. Albright, please show me some respect. I am Lucas's wife. From now on, you will have to call me Mrs. Thorne. No need, I no longer have a brother named Lucas Thorne." We're through. After Leo left, the guests couldn't help but feel a sense of shame. Leo Albright could have used his friendship to secure his own future with the Lancasters, but he dared to stand up for the deceased Sylvia Blackwood and sever ties. And the guests' murmurs grew louder. Luna's heart pounded with anxiety. She only let out a huge sigh of relief when the wedding finally concluded without further incident. That night, she debated whether she should consummate the marriage with Lucas, despite her recent kidney transplant surgery, in order to conceive an heir and secure her position as Mrs. Thorne. Just as she was changing into a silk slip, Lucas kicked open the door like a demon. "Luna Miller, I want you dead." The moment the ceremony concluded, the last faint glimmer of hope in Lucas Thorne's heart was extinguished. A tidal wave of despair, more powerful than ever before, crashed over him. He was forced to believe that his world had once again plunged into darkness. And worse, he was the one who had killed the light with his own hands. The suppressed rage burst forth. Nearly mad, Lucas strode through a storm of fury to the master bedroom of the bridal suite and kicked the door in. "Luna Miller, I want you dead." Luna had just undressed. For a newly married couple, this should have been a moment of romantic intimacy. Instead, she felt as if she were being stared at by a dead man, his eyes horrifying. Luna's heart pounded. "Honey, what's wrong?" Lucas slowly tilted his head, his gaze terrifyingly grim. "Honey, you think you're worthy?" Luna's throat tightened. "But it's our wedding night." Lucas's gaze slowly slid down to her waist. "This incision only broke the skin. It's not realistic enough. Let me help you with that." Luna felt a searing pain at her faintly aching wound, as if it had been branded by a hot iron. A chill spread through her body, and her blood ran cold. He knew she had faked her illness to get Sylvia's kidney. Looking into his emotionless eyes, Luna couldn't help but sob. "Lucas Thorne, do you care about her that much? If you hadn't been so obsessed with her, why would I have gone after her? I'm your wife now." "Shut up, my only wife is Sylvie," Lucas roared, pulling out a fruit knife and charging toward Luna, dragging his crippled leg behind him. Luna had always foolishly believed her charm was so great that it had made Lucas lose all reason, secretly calling him an easily manipulated idiot. The terrifying scene before her froze her blood. She finally realized that Lucas Thorne was an out-and-out lunatic. Luna tried to escape, but she had bumped into the foot of the bed and couldn't get up in time. This time, she wasn't faking it. Her tears were real and heartfelt. "Honey, I'm scared. Please don't hurt me." "Honey," Luna's throat was seized, her face flushing a deep red as blood rushed to her head. Her eyes looked like they were about to pop out of their sockets. "Shut up, you have no right to call me that." Lucas's eyes were sharp and glacial, filled with a deathly cold rage. "When you burned Sylvie's hand, when you bribed the doctor to take her life, did you ever think about not hurting her? I'll make you suffer 1,000 times more than Sylvie ever did." Along with his hoarse, guttural shouts came the sound of a blade tearing through skin. A sharp pain erupted in Luna's right abdomen as blood spurted out. Lucas released his grip on her throat and viciously twisted the knife with both hands, churning her insides. Luna finally understood, with chilling clarity, that Lucas Thorne had never had any feelings for her. The pain was so intense it went numb. Luna laughed mockingly. Lucas Thorne, what's with the act of devotion now? Avenging Sylvia Blackwood? You're the main culprit. Firing her, erasing her records, booking the hospital, those were all your orders. And you were the one who personally sent her into the operating room. You killed Sylvia Blackwood. Don't say it. Don't say it. This irrefutable truth made Lucas's eyes so red they looked like they would burst. He yanked out the knife, which had been buried to the hilt, splattering blood onto Luna's face. Memories turned into countless sharp threads, shredding every cell in his body. The pain made it hard to breathe. Sylvie? Luna clutched the bloody hole in her abdomen, from which bits of her organs were spilling out. Her lips were as white as paper. Knowing she was going to die, she mocked this ridiculous man with deep hatred. A fickle bastard who plays with people's emotions. This is your karma. Sylvia Blackwood is dead, she's never coming back. You don't understand. Lucas's eyes were thick with a blood-red haze. I didn't want to lose her. Everything I did was to keep her by my side forever. Luna gritted her teeth. You psycho, enraged, Lucas swung the knife at her. The tip pierced her skin, about to plunge into her heart. Luna's eyes widened in resentment and unwillingness. Killing your own wife on your wedding night. Lucas Thorne, you can just wait to rot in prison. At that moment, the knife stopped. Lucas abruptly pulled it out and slowly began to wipe the blood from the blade. The light reflected off the steel, casting a blinding, cold glint. Luna's vision blurred. She could only hear his demonic whisper. Dying like this is too easy for you. You must wish you were dead. You should experience what it's like to be burned, to have a kidney removed. And then you can spend the rest of your life in a mental asylum. The fact that Luna Miller was sent to a mental asylum on her wedding night shocked everyone who had been secretly jealous or mocking her for being a homewrecker. No one could comprehend Lucas Thorne's logic. They just assumed he had gone mad. Coupled with the news of Sylvia Blackwood's death, many employees resigned one after another. The once unstoppable North Stream Corporation was suddenly on the verge of collapse. North Stream's competitor, Sterling Jewels, soared to become the leading jewelry company in the city. And Sylvia's new identity was none other than the daughter of the Sterling family. 22 years ago, the Sterlings' only daughter had been stillborn, and they were never able to have another child. The couple had spent half their lives doing good deeds, contributing a great deal of merit to the heavens. Coupled with the karmic ties between the Sterling family, the Lancaster family, and Sylvia, the system simply altered the memories of the book's NPCs. From then on, Sylvia had a pair of loving, open-minded parents. Host, Mr. and Mrs. Sterling are your biological parents. After a successful conquest, you can return to the country and meet them. Sylvia had been somewhat apprehensive, but upon hearing her parents' identities, she had a moment of clarity. Auntie Catherine is my mother? Correct. Mrs. Catherine Sterling is the biological mother of this body. Your new name is Aurelia Sterling. In her past life, Sylvia had completed her education with the help of a scholarship from a charitable foundation established by Catherine Sterling. After graduation, she had declined an offer from Sterling Jewels and instead went to design numerous works for North Stream Corporation. As a result, Sterling Jewels' market share had been repeatedly eroded. She had always felt a sense of guilt towards the Sterling family. Host, the arch-villain is no longer your conquest target. There is no need to show mercy. The system's mechanical voice was uncharacteristically excited. In the future, you will return to the country, inherit Sterling Jewels, make it bigger and stronger, and slap that scumbag's face until it's swollen. After so many failures, Aurelia was not confident. Am I going to have to spend another 99 lifetimes conquering another man? Not quite. This time, if the mission fails, the host will be completely erased. There are no more resets. You need to complete the conquest as soon as possible. Ethan Lancaster has less than 3 months to live. 3 months? She couldn't make Lucas Thorne love her 199 lifetimes. Why should she expect a man she had just met to do so? In the time she had left, Aurelia just wanted to love herself and live her life to the fullest. Aurelia hadn't entirely given up on the conquest mission. At the system's urging, she took her sketchbook and went to paint at the estate where Ethan Lancaster was recuperating. Except for the central villa, which was off limits, the rest of the estate was open to the public. Visitors could enjoy the spring flowers, pick fruit, go boating on the lake, or have a barbecue. The estate even had a playground and a zoo. The reclusive Ethan Lancaster spent his days on the top floor of the villa, watching the children play. Before long, he noticed the young woman who often came to the estate to paint. Ethan had someone purchase Aurelia's works. He felt the tenacious, vibrant life force contained within the paintings, something he had yearned for his entire life. Current affection level, 25. Host, Ethan Lancaster is falling for you. Aurelia was surprised. Lucas Thorne's initial affection level for her had been 100. It had taken her a year and getting stabbed just to raise it to 0. She hadn't even met Ethan Lancaster yet. The system explained. Ethan Lancaster is a hidden powerhouse in the book. He also has paranoid and possessive tendencies, but not to the outrageous extent of Lucas Thorne. Relatively speaking, he's easier to conquer. Now that Ethan Lancaster has a good impression of the host, you can use his mother, Sophia Lancaster, to get close to him. Mrs. Lancaster and your mother are childhood friends. Before Aurelia could pay a visit, Sophia Lancaster came to find her. Years ago, the Lancaster family was targeted by enemies. My husband and I were in a car accident. Ethan was delivered by emergency C-section at less than 6 months. Many of his organs were underdeveloped, and he was severely injured in the womb. The doctors all said he wouldn't live to adulthood. I knelt in every temple, sought out every famous doctor. But in the end, I still can't keep him. Aurelia, Ethan has suffered too much these past 27 years. I can't be so selfish as to keep forcing him to stay. Sophia Lancaster covered her face and wept. After losing my husband, I'm about to lose my only child. I can't hold on to anything. Aurelia's heart ached for her, and she hugged the graying mother. Thinking of the restore health item she would get after a successful conquest, Aurelia truly hoped she could complete the mission this time, to spare this gentle, loving woman the pain of losing her son. These past few days, I've seen him looking at your paintings often. Sophia took Aurelia's hand, her eyes filled with tears as she pleaded. Ethan never likes strangers near him. This is the first time he's ever paid so much attention to someone outside the villa. Aurelia, can I invite you to the villa to meet him? Lucas Thorne locked himself away in the house he once shared with his lover. Sylvia Blackwood lay on the master bed. Lucas insisted on combing the hair and changing the clothes of the decaying corpse, holding it as he slept each night, deceiving himself into believing she had never left. At night, he would press his lips against her cold, rotting ear, letting the maggots crawl on his face as he rambled on about the details of their 99 lifetimes. By the end, he would curl into a ball, crying like a child. Sylvie, you were the one who pulled me out of the darkness. How could you just let me go? Sylvie, I can't live without you. Sylvie. Lucas wanted to hate Sylvia, but the overwhelming guilt made him feel he had no right to blame her for leaving. Sylvie, I'm so sorry. Lucas isolated himself in their former love nest, feeling the essence of Sylvia's presence fade with heart-wrenching pain. This place was no longer warm and beautiful. It was replaced by loneliness, darkness, and decay. When the body had rotted beyond recognition, he began to frantically search for any trace of Sylvia left in the house, only to find that she had already thrown away everything that had witnessed their love. Photos, love letters, keepsakes, and all their couple's items. Gone, it's all gone. Lucas tried to find traces of their love online, but the posts that had documented their relationship had long been deleted. He had acted so recklessly, counting on the resets, leaving himself no way back. Nothing could be restored. CEO Thorne, none of your university or high school classmates have any photos of you and Miss Blackwood, not even in the graduation photos. Back then, Lucas had been determined to erase his past with Sylvia. Assistant Daniels had contacted every classmate one by one, paying a high price to delete everything related to her. How could any of it be recovered now? On the other end of the line, the overwhelmed Assistant Daniels sounded plaintive. CEO Thorne, there are still many matters at the corporation that need your attention before he could finish. Lucas hung up. Regret made it painful for him to even stand. He collapsed to the floor, sobbing. Why was it so hard to get a happy ending? After 99 lifetimes, they had never grown old together, and now he had lost her. Was it true, as the book said, that he was cursed to be alone for the rest of his life? As the sun set, Lucas turned his head to avoid the light peeking through the curtains. A letter under the cabinet caught his eye. Lucas crawled over on his hands and knees, stretching to retrieve the letter that had been blown into this hidden corner. It was from Sylvia. Lucas's hands trembled as he opened it. "Lucas, I think you knew I was a conqueror from the very first lifetime, didn't you? Before I transmigrated, I was just like you, an orphan, alone in the world. When I was 15, my uncle tried to marry me off to a fool. I refused, so they locked me up and beat me. They accidentally killed me. You always said I was your salvation, but you were mine too. When the system told me to conquer you, I was so happy. You had suffered so much. I wanted to love you, to protect you, to make your future bright and brilliant." Lucas's heart bled as he read. He had never known about Sylvia's past before she transmigrated. He had always thought she was some kind of task-taker who would leave once the conquest was complete. Ultimately, he never believed that a piece of trash like him could be truly loved. When he saw the words love and protect, Lucas sobbed so hard his vision blurred, and he could barely read the rest of the letter. "Perhaps my initial reason for approaching you was not pure, but in this strange little world, you had long become my one and only love, my dearest family. I had planned to cure your leg injury and grow old with you after the conquest was successful. It's a pity that even after 99 lifetimes, that wish could not be fulfilled. I guess I was too greedy." Every word was like a thunderclap, detonating in Lucas's mind and shattering his insides. She never planned to leave. She remembered all 99 lifetimes. She had watched him marry another woman over and over, walked toward death alone time and time again, and then came back to save a monster like him. 99 lifetimes. Lucas clutched the letter, which felt as heavy as a mountain, and cried his heart out. "Sylvie, remember when we were 18, you said you would love me for all of eternity, but in the end, your love left me with nothing but endless pain. How could that passionate, sincere boy bear to hurt me like this? If there is a next life, can we please not meet again? I'm in so much pain. Lucas Thorne, I don't want to love you anymore." Lucas Thorne killed himself. After learning that Sylvia had given up the conquest, and that he had well and truly lost his beloved, Lucas picked up the same knife he had used to stab Luna Miller a short time ago. He resolutely severed the tendons and veins in his right wrist. When the police broke down the door, Lucas was lying cold and bloody in the arms of the corpse, fat maggots feasting on his flesh. The police almost thought there were two bodies on the bed. "Get the medical examiner." "Ah, a ghost, a corpse," a neighbor shrieked, vomited, and nearly fainted. He couldn't stand the increasingly pungent stench and had finally called the police. He never imagined he would find such a gruesome, bloody scene. Inside, he had been neighbors with a corpse for 10 days. When the neighbor finally remembered the identity of the deceased, he forgot his fear and immediately pulled out his phone to share the gossip in a group chat. CEO Thorne died for love. He died, holding Miss Blackwood's body. The police checked the pulses of the two maggot-covered figures. The man's still breathing. CEO Thorne isn't dead, yet the neighbor quickly shared the latest development. The ambulance is here. CEO Thorne will probably be taken to the nearest city central hospital for emergency treatment. The online onlookers couldn't help but comment. If he loved Miss Blackwood so much he was willing to die for her, why did he kill her in the first place? Does CEO Thorne love Sylvia Blackwood or Luna Miller? He was willing to kill Sylvia to marry Luna, but then he sent Luna to a mental asylum. His actions make no sense. Is there something seriously wrong with him? He probably only realized who he loved after she was dead. Tusk. The residents of this neighborhood were all wealthy and influential. Leo Albright soon heard the news of Lucas's suicide attempt. Lucas had no parents, no relatives. His uncle's family was imprisoned on a small island, and his nominal wife was locked up in a mental asylum. Only Leo, the friend who had declared their friendship over, rushed to the hospital to sign the surgery consent forms for him. Leo got the basic story from the police. He would never have imagined that in the 10 days since they had cut ties, Lucas had been sleeping next to a corpse. He's really gone mad. While his former friend was in surgery, Leo went to the morgue to see Sylvia's body. It was already so decomposed it was unrecognizable, hair falling out, eye sockets sunken, tongue protruding, abdomen swollen. Unable to bear the sight, Leo quickly had the body cremated and buried. When Lucas, who had been on the brink of death, returned from the gates of hell, Sylvia was no longer by his side. Not even her body was left. Sylvie? Ah, Sylvie. Lucas struggled violently, tearing out his IV tube, blood spilling everywhere. Leo pinned him to the bed, wanting nothing more than to punch him into his senses. Lucas Thorne, I told you not to betray her, but you just had to self-destruct. What's this now? She's dead, cremated, and your hand, Leo was heartbroken. You were so ruthless. Your right hand is basically useless now, do you know that? Lucas couldn't hear him, just screamed hoarsely, Give me back my Sylvie. Give her back, Sylvie. Just as Leo was about to slap him, Lucas burst into tears. Sylvie, I know I was wrong. Please, conquer me one more time, okay? Sylvie, conquer. Leo had read his fair share of system and conquest web novels, but he couldn't believe something that only existed in books would happen in real life. He just assumed Lucas was delusional from grief. Sylvie, if I had just been a little kinder to you, even once, we could have had a happy ending, Lucas sobbed, his whole body shaking. Pain and regret made life feel worse than death. I kept praying to the heavens for us. I ruined everything. Sylvie, are you cold down there? Wait for me, I'm coming to join you. Lucas began to struggle against Leo, trying to rush to the window and jump. Fortunately, Leo was quick and grabbed him. To stop Lucas from trying to kill himself again, Leo had no choice but to play along. If Sylvie is a conqueror, then she's definitely not dead. The crimson madness in Lucas's eyes cleared for a moment, then he hesitated. But if she didn't complete the mission, she'd be erased. Sylvie must have been erased. Lucas broke down completely. Sylvie? No, she won't be. Maybe Sylvie just changed her identity, like in novels where they possess another body or something. Leo held onto his mentally unstable friend, his heart a mix of complicated emotions, and patiently comforted him. Get a grip. At least if you're alive, there's a chance you can find her. If you're dead, how will you ever find her? Right, I have to find Sylvie. Lucas obediently let his friend help him back to the hospital bed. His frantic, disordered eyes held a terrifyingly obsessive glint. I have to apologize to Sylvie in person, to beg for her forgiveness. She loved me for 99 lifetimes. She won't abandon me. She's just angry for now. I have to find Sylvie. Sylvie, current affection level, 75. Host, Ethan Lancaster has fallen in love with you. When she heard the system's notification, Aurelia Sterling was in the villa, painting a portrait of Sophia Lancaster. She looked up and caught Ethan's gaze from a short distance away. He paused, gave her a slight nod, and then refocused his attention on the document in his hands. The knuckles of the hand, holding the paper, had turned white. The words on the page blurred into countless ants crawling across his heart. She's looking at me. Aurelia didn't notice his nervousness as she studied her new conquest target. He wore thin, gold-rimmed glasses and a tailored silver-gray suit. Even with his pale, gaunt appearance, he exuded an air of detached nobility. It was the inherent, quiet authority of someone long accustomed to being in power. The system chimed in to help. For the convenience of doctors during emergencies, Ethan Lancaster usually wears casual clothes. He only changes into a suit around the time you're scheduled to arrive. Look at him, sitting up so straight. The system sighed. An ordinary person in his condition would be in too much pain to even get out of bed, let alone sit perfectly straight for hours. He has incredible endurance. Host, he actually wants you to paint his portrait, but he's too shy to have you stare at him for so long, so he used his mother as an excuse. He knows you're looking at him. His ears are turning red. Aurelia was still mulling over the 75 affection level. He's already in love with me? Back then, when Lucas Thorne's affection level for her reached 50, he had wanted the whole world to know he loved her and had made promises of eternity. If it weren't for the system, she would have had no idea Ethan was even interested, let alone in love. Yes, Ethan Lancaster's affection level for you has been skyrocketing. It has now reached a point of deep infatuation. The system analysis suggests he isn't showing it because he knows he doesn't have much time left and doesn't want to hold you back. He's even drawn up a will, intending to leave this entire estate to the Sterling family. Not directly to Aurelia, but to her family, so outsiders would just assume it was because of their family's long-standing friendship. He was protecting her reputation. A warm, unfamiliar current flowed through Orlaya's battle-scarred heart. She had always believed love was a luxury, something you had to earn through immense sacrifice before deserving even a second glance. Being betrayed and hurt must have meant she hadn't done enough, wasn't good enough. She never knew someone could love her so quietly, so silently, without asking for anything in return. Orlaya had originally held little hope of completing the mission, but in just a few short days, Ethan's affection level had soared to 75. It made her start to hope she could continue to live together. Orlaya decided to take the initiative. As it happened, the kitchen cook had to take a day off for a family emergency, so Orlaya went to the kitchen and prepared a nourishing, medicinal soup. Ethan remained outwardly calm and composed, but inwardly he was deeply touched. He forced his hands not to tremble, and with impeccable dining etiquette, as if savoring an unprecedented delicacy, he carefully tasted the soup. She cooked for me, she cooked herself current affection level, 99. The system was so overjoyed its electronic voice cracked. Wow, host, just a little more, you're about to complete the mission. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Orlaya was a little surprised, but not overly excited. We've been stuck at 99 for 99 lifetimes. The system was wildly optimistic. That won't happen. A psycho like Lucas Thorne might not appear once in 10,000 worlds. Of course, someone as pure and easy to charm as Ethan Lancaster is also a rare find. Host, if you run over and kiss him right now, no. Even if you do nothing, say nothing, just smile at him. I guarantee the affection level will immediately max out. Orlaya glanced at the man's pale, gaunt, yet still strikingly handsome face, and the word kiss sent her fleeing from the room. Even after she was outside, her heart wouldn't calm down. Just one bowl of soup had raised his affection to 99. She had cooked for Lucas Thorne for 99 lifetimes, and he had taken it for granted. What one person cast aside like trash, another could treasure as a priceless gem. The next day, when Orlaya came to the villa as usual, Sophia Lancaster, having heard about the soup and that Ethan had finished the entire bowl, rushed to get her jewelry box. She pressed a diamond necklace worth millions into Orlaya's hands. Orlaya quickly tried to refuse. Aunt Sophia, I can't accept something so valuable. An elder's gift should not be refused. Besides, it's meant to be worn by someone young and beautiful like you. Sophia, with an air that brooked no argument, fastened the necklace around Orlaya's neck. She gazed lovingly at Orlaya's face, her smile turning to tears. Auntie hasn't even properly thanked you for making that soup for Ethan. Eating, sleeping, even breathing things that are so normal for others, Ethan has to endure unbearable pain just to do. Sophia choked up, unable to continue. I can't even remember the last time he ate with such an appetite. Since Orlaya started visiting, Ethan's spirits had clearly improved. Sometimes, seeing him sitting up straight in his suit, Sophia would have the illusion that he had returned to the days before his illness had become so severe. Sophia had checked with the doctors multiple times, but the answer was always the same. Ethan's organs were failing, a process that was irreversible. His body's indicators were all at rock bottom. He was at the end of his rope. I know it was a blessing from heaven that Ethan has lived this long. I shouldn't ask for more. Sophia buried her head in Orlaya's shoulder, sobbing helplessly. If only I had been stronger back then, if I had protected my child. His life wouldn't have been so hard. Sophia looked up at Orlaya, her eyes glistening. When I was pregnant with Ethan, your mother had just gotten engaged. We used to joke that our children would marry each other. If that incident hadn't happened, wouldn't you two have been a perfect match? A mother knows her son best. Sophia could sense Ethan's feelings for Orlaya, but she couldn't be so selfish as to tie Orlaya down for life just so her son could marry the girl he loved before he died. She just felt that fate was cruel. The big boss is nearby. The system urged her on. Host, say something to push things forward. After a moment of silence, Orlaya chose her words carefully. Aunt Sophia, you might not believe me, but if you hadn't come to see me that day, I would have come to you. I came to this country for Ethan. To be precise, I exist in this world because of him. Sophia momentarily forgot to cry, her eyes wide with astonishment. Really? This girl has fallen for my sickly, incurable son? It was normal for Ethan to like her, but what was there about him for her to like? And he was the reason for her existence. Orlia's lovesick confession made Sophia feel like this was a tragic mistake. "Child, don't be foolish. You're so young, beautiful, and talented. You can have any man you want." Orlia omitted the details of the system's conquest mission, but explained how important Ethan was to her. Her expression was exceptionally sincere. "If Ethan is gone, I won't be able to live either." Current affection level, 100. Congratulations, host, for completing the conquest mission. The Restore Health item has been successfully delivered. Inside the private room, Lucas Thorne was almost one with the darkness. Only his eyes glowed with a terrifying, blood-red light, his chilling gaze sweeping over the line of people standing before him. They all shivered. They had been painstakingly gathered by Assistant Daniels. Anyone who had undergone a major life change and personality shift after Sylvia Blackwood's death, old, young, male, or female, had been brought before Lucas. This included a 70-year-old grandmother and a 3-year-old boy. Assistant Daniels had even secretly added a woman who bore a striking resemblance to Sylvia. Lucas's cold gaze did linger on the woman for a few extra seconds, but her terrified, silent demeanor sent him into a rage. "None of these are my Sylvie. Sylvie wouldn't be afraid of me. Get out, all of you. Get out." Lucas swept all the bottles off the table, sending them crashing to the floor with a series of clatters. Shards of glass and liquor splashed onto him. The fragments cut his skin, drawing crimson blood. The others in the room, having received their dismissal, fled as if granted amnesty, grabbing their money and escaping the terrifying place without a second look. Lucas stared blankly at the cut. It was so shallow, yet it hurt so much his whole body convulsed, and he nearly coughed up blood. This time, there was no one left to hold him and soothe his pain. 99 lifetimes, if just once he had shown a sliver of compassion, if he hadn't just watched her wither and die in despair, they would have had their happy ending. He had brought this upon himself after seeing everyone out. Assistant Daniels returned. "CEO Thorne, Sterling Jewels has sent an invitation for you to attend Miss Sterling's welcome banquet. The head of the Lancaster family will also be in attendance." "Not going? Understood." Assistant Daniels had expected this reaction. If Sterling Jewels weren't a major competitor, and if Miss Sterling weren't the future wife of the Lancaster family head, he wouldn't have bothered to bring it up. Sigh. Rumor had it that the Lancaster family head had made a miraculous recovery after falling in love. The inheritance of the Lancaster Corporation was definitely not going to fall into his boss's lap. Assistant Daniels turned to leave. "Wait," Lucas scrambled up, grabbing him. He stepped on the broken glass, oblivious to the blood, and seized Assistant Daniels by the collar. "Who did you just say? Miss Sterling?" "Yes, Orlia Sterling, the daughter of Richard Sterling, the chairman of Sterling Jewels. She has returned from her studies abroad." Assistant Daniels racked his brain, searching for any information about Orlia Sterling. She didn't fit the profile of the reincarnated person they were looking for. After some thought, he could only offer a tactful reminder. "CEO Thorne, Miss Sterling is the fiancée of the Lancaster family head. According to seniority, you would have to address her as Aunt." But Lucas didn't hear the word aunt. He completely ignored the existence of his distant young uncle. The Sterling family doesn't have a daughter. She was created by the system, just like how the system had made Sylvia his deskmate out of thin air. Lucas's once dull, lifeless eyes shone with an astonishing light. "Haha, I finally found Sylvie." Staring at his abnormally overexcited boss, Assistant Daniels was completely baffled. "CEO Thorne, the Sterling family has always had a daughter. She's 3 years younger than Miss Blackwood." He hadn't even met the woman, yet he was so certain she was Miss Blackwood. Assistant Daniels was deeply worried about what his boss might do in his current mental state if he went to the Sterling's event. If he angered the head of the Lancaster family, it would be all over. For the past 6 months, Lucas had been depressed and decadent, drinking all day. The only reason North Stream Corporation hadn't been carved up was because everyone feared the Lancaster family behind him. "Sylvie, wait for me." Sylvie Lucas was visibly ecstatic, almost manic. He clearly wasn't going to listen to any reason. Assistant Daniels sighed deeply. It looked like it was really time to find a new job. Sterling Jewels was already a leading enterprise in the city. Coupled with the rumor that the Sterling family was about to be joined by marriage to the powerful Lancaster family of the capital, Everyone in their social circle was scrambling to attend the welcome banquet. The Sterling residence was bustling with guests. Richard Sterling cheerfully greeted guests on the first floor, while his wife, Catherine, was upstairs helping their daughter with her gown and sharing some private words. The day after their return, Sophia and Ethan Lancaster had arrived with lavish gifts to propose marriage. Catherine, swayed by the sweet talk of her long-lost friend, and seeing that Ethan seemed to have recovered and no longer looked like he was at death's door, had impulsively agreed to the match. Ethan, seizing the opportunity, planned to announce their engagement at the banquet. Once announced, it would be difficult to go back on. "Aurelia, are you really sure you want to marry Ethan?" The more Catherine looked at her precious daughter, the more reluctant she was to let her go. "You've just graduated. Why rush into an engagement? Let the Lancasters be anxious if they want to. That childhood promise was just a joke. My daughter doesn't have to marry Ethan Lancaster." Before transmigrating, Aurelia had been an orphan for as long as she could remember. This was the first time she had a mother, and this mother had funded her education for 99 lifetimes. Looking at the gentle and elegant Catherine Sterling, feeling the burning love from her mother, Aurelia's eyes welled up with heat, and she couldn't help but hug her. "Mom!" The system had altered her memories. Catherine was no longer the mother who wept over a stillborn child. She now had 22 years of genuine memories with her daughter. In her mind, Aurelia was her child. "My dear, what's wrong? Have you changed your mind?" "Don't worry, I'll go and make things clear with your Aunt Sophia right now." Catherine was about to take out her phone. Aurelia stopped her, her voice choked with emotion but firm. "Mom, Ethan is a very good person. I'm so lucky to have met him." She had chosen to be with Ethan, not just because he had enabled her to complete her mission and live. It was because of his 100 unreserved love for her. In business, Ethan was a master strategist, but in love, he was as pure as a blank slate. In the 6 months they had been together, he had trusted and cherished her unconditionally. For Aurelia, who was tired of betrayal and deception, it was hard not to fall for him. Seeing her daughter's insistence, Catherine reluctantly relented. "As long as you like him, my dear, I have no objections. Thankfully, your Aunt Sophia and I grew up together. I know her well. She's not the kind of mother-in-law who would make things difficult. But I don't know that boy Ethan very well. You can get engaged first, and we can talk about the wedding later." Catherine gently wiped the tears from her daughter's eyes. "Don't be afraid, my dear. If that Lancaster boy dares to bully you, Mom will definitely stand up for you." Wrapped in so much love, Aurelia's chest ached. She was so happy she couldn't believe it was real. Now she had family, and she had love. She no longer had to suppress her true feelings and humbly devote everything to Lucas Thorne. If this was a dream, Aurelia wished she would never wake up. By the time Aurelia had composed herself and descended the grand staircase, to the gasps of the crowd, she saw the man who had been waiting for her. Ethan Lancaster was still thin and frail, but much better than before. To others, he no longer looked like a man at death's door, but rather a handsome gentleman with a certain delicate beauty. Ethan was looking at her too, his face filled with unconcealed admiration. Her cloud-like dark hair, her brows like ink paintings, her lips like cherry blossoms, and her slender waist. Light danced in her clear, bright eyes, sparkling like a sky full of stars, making her look as ethereal as a fairy from the moon. This was his love, the wife with whom he would spend the rest of his life, the treasure he would devote his life to protecting. In a dark corner of the banquet hall, Lucas Thorne's obsessive gaze was locked on Aurelia. His dark eyes held a beast, snarling and roaring. A myriad of emotions swirled within him. Relief, excitement, astonishment, anger, sorrow, grievance. It was her he needed only one look to recognize her. This was his Sylvie, but his Sylvie, whose eyes used to be filled with nothing but him, was now looking at another man. Host, look at the villain's expression. The long, silent system popped up. Aurelia had thought it had left this world to find a new conqueror after her mission was complete. System, you're still here. The system's voice was no longer the flat, mechanical tone of before. It now had a lively quality. Yep, I wanted to see the villain get his face slapped. After being tortured alongside the host for 99 lifetimes, the system had become so numb it had actually developed the human emotion of anger. It had fought hard with headquarters to get the conquest target changed. Now, the system was eager for some payback. Look at his thunderstruck expression, so satisfying. Upon learning that Lucas was nearby, Orlaya's heart felt not a single ripple. To her, he was just an insignificant passerby. Orlaya didn't dwell on why Lucas might be thunderstruck. She just assumed he was having a breakdown over losing his chance to become the family head. The system's item transcended the three realms. Restore Health had worked on Ethan with astonishing effect, and this was even a toned-down version. Otherwise, the system could have made him fully recover overnight. The guests saw the legendary head of the Lancaster family and, looking at his slightly gaunt but rosy complexion, finally believed the rumors. The Lancaster family head is really getting better. He doesn't look like someone with a serious illness at all. He's just a bit thin. He could easily live for another few decades. Is the power of love that magical? Did he get better just because he couldn't bear to leave Miss Sterling? Who knows? Anyway, Mrs. Lancaster treats Miss Sterling like a lucky star. I heard the first thing she did after returning to the country was rush to our city to propose to the Sterling family. Looks like good things are on the horizon for them. The guests noticed the dark, twisted figure of Lucas Thorne in the corner. They made no effort to lower their voices, pointing and gossiping about him. CEO Thorne used to act so arrogantly, thinking he was the surefire heir. He did so many awful things. Now he's in for it. Yeah, the Lancaster head will have his own children. There's no way the inheritance would go to Lucas. Even if he were a direct nephew, he wouldn't get the fortune over the man's own son. Not to mention they're just distant relatives. The onlookers were full of contempt for Lucas. If the Lancaster Corporation fell into his hands, it would be ruined sooner or later. The guy's got a screw loose. He tortured a woman to death, and now he's pretending to be some great lover, constantly rambling about Miss Blackwood being reincarnated. If Sylvia Blackwood had died by accident, they might have praised Lucas for his deep love. Now, they just wanted to spit at him. Psycho, Lucas paid no attention to the gloating remarks around him. His eyes were fixed on Orlaya's face, the myriad of emotions in them now reduced to the pure relief of having found what was lost. Thank God she's still here. They had such a deep bond, one that no outsider could compare to. He would beg for her forgiveness and spend the rest of his life making up for what he had done to her. Before Lucas could formulate the words to kneel and beg, the man he had been trying so hard to ignore took Orlaya's hand and walked onto the stage. Lucas stared at their joined hands, his eyes turning bloodshot. When Ethan Lancaster announced their engagement, Lucas could no longer sit still. He charged toward the stage like a crazed beast. Sylvie, I won't let you marry him." He ran so fast his cane fell to the floor. Lucas didn't stop, continuing to limp straight toward Orlaya as if she would disappear if he were a second too late. Before he could reach the stage, he was tackled by security guards. Ethan stood protectively in front of Orlaya, his gaze sharp as he looked down at the disheveled, alcohol-reeking man. His brows furrowed tightly. "Who are you? How dare you cause a scene at my fiancé's welcome banquet?" Orlaya's father reminded his future son-in-law, "Ethan, this is the CEO of North Stream Corporation from the Thorne family here in our city. He's technically your nephew." Hearing it was his own nephew, Ethan's expression darkened even further. "Someone get him out of here." Lucas was dragged away by the guards, a pathetic sight. His gaze never left Orlaya's, and he howled like a madman, "Sylvie, you're my wife. How can you marry someone else?" "Sylvie, system, did Lucas recognize me?" Hearing the repeated calls of Sylvie, Orlaya was surprised. Her current appearance was completely different from her past life. How could Lucas have recognized her at a glance? "I'm sorry, host. The villain has awakened his self-awareness, so the system cannot alter his memories. He remembers that the Sterling family had no children, so it was easy for him to become suspicious. Although your appearance has changed, your eyes and small mannerisms haven't. It's not strange that he recognized you." Orlaya's feelings were complicated. Even with a brand new identity, could she still not escape her entanglement with Lucas? "Host, don't worry, you're not alone anymore. With the Lancaster Corporation and Sterling Jewels behind you, the villain can't do anything to you. It's good for him to see how happy you are now. It'll drive him crazy." Orlaya instinctively looked up at the man beside her. Ethan felt her gaze and turned. The moment their eyes met, his cold expression softened. "Don't be afraid. I'll handle this. Sylvie, the sight of them looking at each other deeply provoked Lucas. He broke free from the guards, ran 2 steps, and then fell, kneeling on the floor below the stage. He looked up at the dazzling woman on the stage, his voice thick with tears as he repented. Sylvie, I was wrong. Please come back to me. You used to love me so much. How could you change just like that? Sylvie, being provoked again and again, even though the man was his nephew and was clearly delusional, Ethan was successfully enraged. Do you think I'm dead? His chilling gaze sent a shiver down the spines of the guests. The banquet hall fell silent. Just as the onlookers were silently mourning for Lucas, Leo Albright stepped forward. He still held some affection for their decade-long friendship and couldn't bear to watch him seek his own destruction. Leo grabbed Lucas and threw a punch. What the hell is wrong with you? This is Miss Sterling, your aunt. Sylvia Blackwood is dead. No, she is my Sylvie. Lucas, seemingly impervious to the pain, immediately lifted his head after being hit, his tone urgent. How could I not recognize my own love? Look at her, she is my Sylvie. Leo felt he was beyond saving. You're really insane, you should see a psychiatrist. Come with me. Leo had to drag his old friend away before Ethan took matters into his own hands. Unfortunately, Lucas had completely lost his mind. Seeing the woman he had longed for day and night standing right in front of him, he refused to let go. Leo and several guards couldn't even control him. Sylvie, it's me. I know you're just trying to make me angry. You still love me the most. We were in love for 99 lifetimes. At that moment, Orlia's father deeply regretted sending Lucas an invitation out of familial courtesy. He never expected the man to have such a public meltdown. 99 lifetimes? The man was mad. Lucas Thorne, do you think I wouldn't recognize my own daughter? If you dare to be disrespectful to my daughter again, the Sterling family will be your enemy. Lucas ignored Richard Sterling's warning, his gaze fixed on Orlia, full of sorrow and grief. Sylvie, you really don't want me anymore? Sylvie, please don't leave me. Sylvie. Orlia first patted Ethan's hand reassuringly, then looked back at the man below the stage. Her clear, bright eyes no longer held his reflection, as if he had never existed in her life. I'm sorry, I don't know you. The words, I don't know you, instantly drained the soul from Lucas Thorne. He collapsed to the ground, allowing Leo Albright to drag him out of the banquet hall. He watched as her figure grew smaller and smaller, and then disappeared. Sylvie, Leo silently drove Lucas home. The house, where Sylvia's body had once lain for 10 days, was now covered in her portraits. Memories flooded back, and Lucas wept uncontrollably. Sylvie, Sylvie, why did you leave me? Sylvie, Leo looked at his friend, once again lost in grief, and sighed. Lucas Thorne, this is as far as I can take you. From now on, you're on your own. At the door, Leo paused. He offered one last piece of advice. Sylvia Blackwood is gone. You need to face reality. And Ethan Lancaster is not someone you can afford to provoke. Ostracized and disgraced, Lucas was deaf to any advice. He had been reborn 99 times, just to be with his love forever. If she wasn't here, what was the point of living? Lucas stubbornly believed that Sylvia's reappearance as Orlia Sterling was a chance for redemption given to him by the heavens. How could he give up? Just as Ethan returned to the capital to deal with some old-timers in the Lancaster Corporation who were stirring up trouble over his recovery, Lucas seized the opportunity to go to the Sterling family's home and kneel outside their gate. Orlia's parents couldn't get rid of him, so they just let him kneel there, treating him like a piece of lawn furniture. Hath, the villain is here to kneel. Oh look, he fainted. The system gleefully relayed Lucas's situation to its host. Orlia was engrossed in her design work, acting as if she hadn't heard a thing. She was now the chief jewelry designer for Sterling Jewels. Her nimble, uninjured right hand could freely draw her ideas on paper, no longer tormented by constant pain. Host, aren't you going to go out and mock the villain? Forget it. He has nothing to do with me. Orlia could ignore him, but Ethan couldn't. Upon receiving the news, he rushed back overnight and unceremoniously dragged Lucas into a corner. He was only showing mercy because of their blood ties. Otherwise, Lucas would have been long dead. At 13, after his grandfather's death, Ethan had learned to manage the corporation from his sickbed. For 14 years, he had run the Lancaster Corporation smoothly and had even dealt with his father's murderers. He was not a soft-hearted man. Lucas was forced to kneel before his young uncle. Ethan's expression was severe. Lucas Thorne, Aurelia is your aunt. If you cause any more trouble, you can expect to be disowned by the Lancaster family. A suffocating pain seized Lucas's heart. He was finally experiencing what it felt like to watch the one he loved marry someone else. The pain was so intense he wished he could die on the spot, but he was not resigned to it. There was no next life for them. He had to get her back, by any means necessary, even if she would hate him for it later. Love, after all, was about possession. Ethan Lancaster, do you really think she loves you? She's a conqueror. Lucas looked up at his young uncle, a cruel, strange smile on his face. Why do you think she would fall for a sickly weakling like you? The system told her to conquer you. If she fails, she'll be erased. She was forced to do it after getting word from the system that Ethan was back. Aurelia, feeling uneasy, had followed him. She arrived just in time to hear Lucas's words. The blood drained from Aurelia's face. Her mind replayed the myriad of pains Lucas had inflicted on her over the past 99 lifetimes. Just because she was a conqueror, did her love have to be questioned? No matter how much she gave, was it all condemned from the start? The villain is miserable, so he can't stand to see you happy. What a despicable little man, the system cursed angrily. It's a good thing the conquest mission was completed, otherwise this dog would have ruined it again. Aurelia lowered her gaze. She stood quietly around the corner, waiting for Ethan to do what Lucas had always done to start doubting her feelings for him. And then he would leave her. Her heart was clenching in pain. Why did it still hurt? What right did she have to hope for love? A person with impure motives didn't deserve to be loved in the first place. This happy dream was about to end. System, mission. Lucas Thorne, you're being absurd. Ethan doesn't believe in the conquest. Aurelia's head snapped up. Even the system, made of data, held its breath. This world is a novel, Lucas shouted excitedly. You're just a background character destined to die early and give the protagonist your resources. If it weren't for the system, you would have been dead 3 months ago. Lucas glared at Ethan with hatred. He had 99 chances to get his affection level to 100. The one standing by Aurelia's side should have been him. Why did Ethan, so blissfully unaware, get to give her 100 of his love? Why did the heavens have to awaken him? Ethan had to suffer just like him. Lucas deliberately twisted the facts to sow discord. How do you think you recovered? She used a system item to heal you just to get your affection level to 100. No doctor in the world can bring someone back from the dead, but the system can. Ethan's expression grew solemn. His recovery was indeed miraculous. Could what Lucas was saying be true? Lucas laughed with malicious glee. My dear uncle, you're finally starting to believe it, aren't you? She only got close to you to conquer you. Whoa, I'm going to kill him, the system shrieked. Aurelia lowered her head again. If Ethan minds, we'll just part ways amicably. It's true I conquered them to survive, but I never wronged Lucas Thorne, and I never wronged Ethan Lancaster. My conscience is clear. So what if she's a conqueror? Do you think I can't feel whether her love is real or not? Ethan's words were firm and resonant. Aurelia felt as if her cold heart had been gently struck, cracking open a small fissure. An unprecedented warmth flowed softly inside. Tears welled up in her eyes. I am grateful to the heavens for sending her to my side. Ethan, guessing Lucas's despicable intentions, retorted, Why would I let your few words of provocation make me doubt the woman I love? Lucas grew desperate. She's a conqueror, how can you love her? Ethan's voice was deep and steady. I love her because she is worthy of being loved. But she's my Sylvie, how can you steal someone's love? She used to love me so much. Ethan kicked Lucas to the ground and planted his foot on his chest. If what you say is true, that Aurelia is the Sylvia Blackwood you betrayed, then you truly deserve to die. Everything you've said only makes me feel more for her. Love her more? Meeting Ethan's determined gaze, Lucas was so ashamed he wept uncontrollably. If only, in that first lifetime, he had been like Ethan, they would have grown old together long ago. Ethan looked coldly at his pathetic nephew. By the way, I should thank you for telling me about the system. Ethan's perspective was completely different from Lucas's. She used the system to heal me. Isn't that proof enough of her feelings for me? She wants to spend her life with me. She gave me this life, and I will spend my own life protecting her. You don't even think about seeing her again. After being thrown out of the estate, Lucas Thorne wandered the streets in a daze. He no longer cared for his appearance. Disheveled and in ragged clothes, he dragged his deformed leg aimlessly, several times nearly jumping from a bridge. If he died, there would be no chance at all. But what was the point of living? She had already found someone better. Ethan's integrity and grace made Lucas feel even more like a rat in a sewer, filthy, despicable, and reeking. He deserved to lose his love forever. Someone as wonderful as her should never have belonged to him in the first place. Lucas walked for 3 days and 3 nights, finally collapsing in front of his old high school, at the place where the story began. As Lucas fell, he accidentally bumped into a passerby. The person leaped away in disgust, then turned and, seeing his slovenly appearance, started kicking him. "You damn beggar, trying to scam me? You got my clothes dirty, you think you can afford to pay for them? I'm going to beat you to death." Lucas lay there like a side of dead meat, letting the tattooed thug kick him mercilessly, not even bothering to protect his head or stomach. One of his front teeth was kicked out. Hey, he spat out the tooth, mixed with blood. Noticing the blood, other passersby quickly intervened. "That's enough, don't kill him." The thug gave Lucas one last kick. Useless piece of trash social parasite, Lucas lay on his back, staring blankly at his lover's smiling face in the sky. Sylvie, it hurts so much. Can you hold me, please?" Sylvie, my Sylvie. But then he remembered how Sylvia had died, alone and in pain, time and time again. He couldn't help but sob. I'm so sorry. Sylvie." The onlookers exchanged glances, recognizing him as the crazy CEO who was always muttering, "Sylvie," and had harassed the future wife of the Lancaster family head. The kind person who was about to call for an ambulance put their phone away. Why bother with someone like him? In the end, the school administration was notified and sent security guards to carry him to the nurse's office for basic first aid. By the time the guards arrived at the spot where Lucas had fainted, he was gone. What happened? Where is he? Let's go back. He's not at the school gate anymore, so it's not our problem. Lucas Thorne was missing for 3 days and 3 nights. Since Sylvia's death, he had barely shown up at North Stream Corporation. Most of the competent employees had left, and the rest were just slacking off. As long as they got paid, they couldn't care less about Lucas's fate. In fact, it was better if the boss didn't show up. As for Assistant Daniels, seeing that Lucas had no chance of inheriting the Lancaster fortune and had angered Ethan, he had simply resigned. In the end, it was Leo Albright who reported him missing. Despite repeatedly declaring he was done with Lucas, he couldn't bear to see his former brother just vanish. The police found Lucas in an illegal clinic. His corneas, liver, kidneys, almost every organ that could be donated had been removed. Even his tongue had been cut out and his tendons had been severed. The flesh on his body had been carved off, piece by piece, death by 1,000 cuts. It was unimaginable how he had survived for 3 long days. If the police had arrived any later, he would have been tortured to death. The perpetrator was caught on the spot. It was Lucas Thorne's nominal wife, Luna Miller. "Lucas Thorne, look at you now. You said you loved me, that you wanted to marry me, and then you turned me into this. This thing that's not even human, you deserve a horrible death. I'll make it so you can't even kill yourself." If the police hadn't pieced together the information from her curses, they would have never recognized the woman before them as the once glamorous Mrs. Thorne. 80% of her body was covered in severe burns, she was rail thin and completely mad. The sight was horrifying. The police sent both of them to the hospital for treatment before taking them to the station for interrogation. It turned out that after being sent to the mental asylum, Luna had been subjected to endless torture restraints, electroshock, forced medication, beatings. The Miller family, afraid of provoking the Lancasters, had done nothing to get her out. The daily humiliation had fueled Luna's hatred for Lucas to its peak. Lucas had been arrogant and vengeful in the past, making many enemies. One of them, seeing that he had been cast out by the Lancaster family and was too consumed by his own pain to pay any attention to Luna, had secretly let her out. Luna, with nothing left to live for, wanted only to drag Lucas down with her. So she had taken him to the illegal clinic and subjected him to her brutal revenge. Luna already had a mental illness certificate forged by Lucas. To be safe, the police conducted another evaluation and confirmed that she did indeed have a psychological disorder. It was likely that being locked up in the asylum for so long had genuinely driven her mad. Regardless, Luna would not face criminal charges. She was sent back to the mental asylum. As for Lucas, he was now blind, mute, and paralyzed, completely unable to care for himself. In the end, it was his distant young uncle, Ethan Lancaster, who arranged for him to be sent to a nursing home. He would spend the rest of his life confined to that small bed. Ethan Lancaster and Lucas Thorne were merely distant relatives who hadn't even met before the welcome banquet. They were also rivals in love. Even if Lucas's eyes, tongue, and tendons could be surgically repaired, Ethan had no intention of paying for it. As for North Stream Corporation, thanks to the value of Sylvia's designs, Ethan acquired it under sterling jewels for a fair price. The money was used to pay for Lucas's nursing home fees. Lucas was thus submerged in endless darkness, surviving only by repeatedly replaying the memories of his 99 lifetimes. He no longer greedily wished for an eternity. He just wanted one lifetime of happiness. But as a cripple, how could he give her happiness? Happiness had been within his grasp, but every time Lucas remembered the end of each lifetime, his pillow would be soaked with tears. He was reaping what he had sown. His only joy each day was listening to the nurses talk about how loving Ethan and Aurelia were as a couple. This had originally been Ethan's way of torturing him, but now it was his only source of news about her. Ethan wanted him to give up, but Lucas stubbornly held on, wanting to see if Ethan would truly, as he had claimed, love and protect Aurelia for a lifetime. Lucas held a grudge. He darkly hoped that Ethan would turn out to be a scoundrel like him, yet at the same time, he feared that Ethan would fail her. As he waited and hoped, he heard the news of their child's birth. Today is the little Miss's birthday. The chairman gave a bonus to every employee at the Lancaster Corporation and sterling jewels. Even we got some. Speaking of which, this reminds me of the chairman's wedding of the century. I got a 5-figure bonus. Our chairman is so generous and a total wife-doting maniac, and the chairman's wife is so kind, gentle, and talented. They're so happy. And the old madam is overjoyed. She thought she would lose her husband young and her son old, but then the chairman suddenly got better, and now she has a healthy granddaughter. It wasn't easy. They've finally found happiness after so much bitterness. I heard the little miss is named Alara, from the saying, peaches and plums do not have to talk, yet the world beats a path to them. The chairman's wife chose it, hoping her daughter will grow up to be a sincere and honest person. As they spoke, the two nurses shot a blatant glare at Lucas, knowing he couldn't see or speak. Let's hope she doesn't turn out like some people, doing all sorts of evil deeds. They never get a good ending. People who play with emotions don't deserve true love. What goes around comes around. It's karma. She's a mother now. The news struck Lucas's chest like a 1,000-pound hammer, a suffocating pain spreading from his heart to every limb. They were supposed to have a warm little family with a cute child. It was what he had dreamed of day and night. He was so close to having it, so close. Lucas knew he should be happy for her, but the thought of her being with someone else brought an unbearable sorrow. No matter how much it hurt, Lucas masochistically craved any information about her. He lived on like this, in a state of collapse and despair, listening to her successful career, her happy family, her children and grandchildren. He listened to how Ethan, for decades, continued to treat her like a precious treasure. In his old age, a white-haired Lucas lay on his deathbed. He listened to the television report on Ethan and Aurelia celebrating their diamond wedding anniversary. On the screen, she was surrounded by her loving husband, children, and grandchildren, a scene of laughter and joy. Meanwhile, he could only die in endless darkness, regret, and loneliness. For over 60 years, she had never once come to see him. His Sylvie was really, truly done with him. He had killed his own light 99 times, and no light would ever shine on him again. He was just an insignificant bug in the depths of darkness. Having lost the light, he was destined to die silently in the abyss, unknown to anyone. In his final moments, Lucas suddenly felt a strange sense of relief. Ethan had spent a lifetime proving he was a man of his word, truly loving and protecting her for all of his days. She deserved to be treated well. In a daze, Lucas seemed to return to the summer when he was 15, seeing a pair of eyes as bright as stars. Sylvie, if there is a next life. The end.